The precious stone set in the silver sea. This is how the renowned playwright and poet William Shakespeare talks about his land, England. And today we are going to look at a part of the history of the land, England, starting from the Norman Conquest, which happened in the year 1066, and the House of Normandy that followed. The Norman Conquest of 1066 was an event that opened a new page in the history of England. After the death of Edward the Confessor in the January of 1066, there were 4 people who claimed to be on the throne of England. Of the 4, 2 are Harold Godwinson and William of Normandy. The Witenagemot chose Harold Godwinson, who was the son of Earl Godwinson, to be on the throne of England, and he was ascended the king. William of Normandy, who was also a cousin of Edward the Conqueror, was unhappy by this decision, and he decided to go on a war to acquire the throne of England. And we have the Battle of Hastings happening in 1066. In the Battle of Hastings, William of Normandy defeated Harold Godwinson, and Harold Godwinson was killed, and William of Normandy ascended the throne of England as William I, who is also known as William the Conqueror. So, with the Battle of Hastings, we have the end of the Saxon lines of kings, and Harold Godwinson was the last of the Saxon kings that ruled England, and we have the beginning of the House of Normandy, or the Norman line of the kings on the throne of England. Now, to look at the reign of William I. William I was a brave soldier. He was a capable general and a clever statesman. The period of William I was a fruitful one for England. William knew the dangers inherent in the feudal system of England, and it was due to this system that William became powerful and he could go on war against the king Harold Godwinson. He did not want history to be repeated, and he decided to break the earldoms into smaller land areas, smaller units, and he also made the people of England swear an oath, that is the Oath of Salisbury of 1086. So William divided the earldoms into smaller units, also made people swear the Oath of Salisbury. So by these acts, he made sure that nobody in the country is powerful enough to go against the king. William was also a master builder, and he erected so many castles in England in the typical Norman style. The Domesday Book was another major achievement during the period of William. The Domesday Book was the survey of the resources in England, and it got the name the Domesday Book because nobody or no thing could escape the survey. And with this, William the king was made aware of the resources of his country, and it made him capable of exacting the right tax from his tenants. And during his period, there was a very close association with church and the state. The Archbishop Lanfranc was a very good advisor for the king, and they shared a very good bond. So when Lanfranc asked William to have a separate order for the church, William agreed. And in 1072, William ordered that the cases against those in the holy orders should not be judged in the civil courts, but it can be sent to the bishops and they will be judged according to the church laws. That is like if a person commits a murder, a person who belongs to the church commits a murder, he will not be given a punishment according to the civil laws of the country, but it will be sent to the bishop and he will be judged according to the church laws. And the interesting fact here is that the church laws did not have capital punishment as a part of it. So the culprit can actually escape by getting a very minor or a very light punishment. But William made this rule, and this is a decision that had far-reaching consequences. And this created many problems in England in the later periods. Till in the 16th century, during the period of Henry VIII, this rule was changed. And William passed away in 1087. Thus, William the Conqueror was on the throne of England from the year 1066 to 1087. He was coronated as the King of England on the Christmas Day of 1066, and he died in 1087 with 4 children: Robert Curthose, William Rufus, Henry, and Adela. His elder son, Robert Curthose, inherited Normandy from his father. William Rufus inherited England. Henry, the third son, did not inherit any land from his father, but he inherited a good sum of money, and his daughter Adela was married to Stephen. Robert ruled Normandy, and William was on the throne of England from 1087 to 1100. William was not much loved by the people of England, but due to the wise decision of his father, William the Conqueror, who had made the people of England swear the oath that they will be faithful to their king, the people of England tolerated William. William the Rufus is known as William the Second. So, both Robert Curthose and William II were envious about each other and their respective lands. Henry, the third son, was a man of good business acumen, and he acquired a large portion of Normandy from his brother Robert. William died in a hunting accident in the year 1100, and thus the kingship is passed to Henry, and Henry ascended the throne of England in 1100 as Henry I. The period of Henry was a glorious one for England. Henry was a very capable ruler like his father William I. Henry I was a capable ruler, a diplomatic genius, an able administrator, and a successful statesman. The first thing that he did once he ascended the throne of England was to issue a charter in which he promised to keep peace in the land and to redress the grievances of the people. So during his tenure as the King of England, there was peace in the land and justice was meted out fairly. Henry was also a diplomatic genius, and he married Matilda, daughter of Malcolm III, and this saw the union of the Saxon and the Norman blood, and this made it easier for the people of England to accept Henry as their undisputed king. The only rebellion that took place during the period of Henry I was the attack of England by his elder brother Robert Curthose. Henry was able to defeat Robert, and thus he conquered Normandy and he became the ruler of England and Normandy. He was also an able administrator, he was a very tidy man, and he had a system for everything. There was a chief council called the Magnum Concilium, which can be seen as a predecessor of the House of the Lords that is there in England now. And he also introduced this system of itinerant judges who travelled across the country and gave judgments for the crimes committed by people. The general peace in the place attracted trade to London, and trade flourished during Henry's period. Thus, in general, the period of Henry I was a very fruitful one for England. And Henry had only one daughter, Matilda, and Henry knew that the people of England will not normally choose Matilda to be the next one on the throne, and he made them to swear an oath which promised that Matilda will be made the queen after his death. When Henry died in 1135, however, the oath was not considered. The people did not stick on to the oath, and it was Henry's nephew Stephen who was chose to be the king. Stephen was Henry's sister Adela's son, and Henry's nephew Stephen ascended the throne of England in 1135, and he ruled till 1154. This period was not a very good one in the history of England. Stephen's reign is known as 19 long winters, as during the period the life and the property of the people of England were in danger. Stephen was a very brave soldier, but he was not the stuff for kingship. Matilda was not crowned as the Queen of England for another reason also, as she was married to Geoffrey of Anju, and Anju had long been a thorn in the flesh for England. So when Stephen was on the throne of England, Matilda believed that the throne of England rightfully belonged to her, and she decided to go on a war with Stephen. Matilda came to England and Stephen was defeated, but they made a pact where Stephen continued as the king of England, and he said that after his death, Henry, Matilda's and Geoffrey of Anjou's son will ascend the throne of England. So this pact was made, and so Stephen continued on the throne of England till his death in 1154. And in 1154, when Stephen died, Matilda's son Henry ascended the throne of England as Henry II, and this is the beginning of the Angevin dynasty of England. So we have 4 kings after the Norman conquest belonging to the house of Normandy that ruled England, starting from William the Conqueror. William the Conqueror defeated Harold Godwinson in the Battle of Hastings and ascended the throne of England in 1066 as the first king belonging to the house of Normandy. He was followed by his son William Rufus, who ascended the throne as William II, and William II was followed by William the Conqueror's third son Henry I. Henry I was followed by his nephew Stephen, and with Stephen ends the house of Normandy, and after Stephen we have Henry II, and with Henry II begins the next house, that is the Angevin dynasty or the Plantagenet dynasty. We will look at the Angevin dynasty in the next session. Thank you.